You know, I have to level with you. Initially, I was going to title this video like the scariest horror books ever made or whatever, because that sounded enticing. I think 2 out of 3 on this list, some people might not even consider horror books, but they're 3 books that I really love and I want to talk about them. And I controversially think all 3 of them are potentially better than the movie they spawned. So please let me know what some of your favorites are, whether they're better than the movie that they spawned or not. I love hearing that stuff. So yeah, please leave that comment. Let's get into it. First one on the list is a book that I've talked about on this channel before, and that's The Howling by Gary Brandner.
Somewhere in these woods, in this primal, sensuous, secret place, lies an experience too terrifying for words. The Howling.
I think The Howling is like the ultimate werewolf book. I mean, there's some good werewolf books out there. There's the Highmore trilogy, there's The Wolf's Hour and The Hunter from the Woods by Robert McCammon, and those are really good too. And The Wolf's Hour is probably a better book than The Howling. I mean, it's literally a Russian-born British Secret Service member dropped into World War II, and he's killing Nazis, but he's also a werewolf. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. But in terms of pure horror, in terms of being a werewolf story distilled down to its like essential perfect elements, I think The Howling is fantastic. Obviously, there is some stuff in that book that hasn't aged well. The first chapter is really graphic, really violent in a way that's not fun, in a way that's really quite like disgusting and gross. It is the linchpin moment for the rest of the story, but if you struggle with any sort of sexual assault themes in stories, it's a genuinely like a fucking tough read. Outside of that, The Howling is so good at building like the atmosphere around this town and this environment, and building on like the horror of being so isolated in the woods and not knowing who to trust and who not to. It's really good for that. The writing in terms of how it like constructs atmosphere, I think is amazing. I don't know, I felt like I was there. I felt like I was isolated in that town. I listened to the audiobook, so maybe the audiobook and the way it was narrated had something to do with it, but like I think it's really good at making you feel scared. And I think in terms of books versus movies on this list, I think this one is the closest to the movie. I think the movie captures that feeling really well. Obviously in the movie they're like 8-foot tall bipedal werewolves, and I always find that more scary. The wolves in the Howling novel are on 4 legs. They're like regular wolves, but slightly bigger. Something about that makes it a little bit less scary to me, but the intrigue and the horror moments and the writing in this book I think are really strong. Same can be said for The Howling 2. I think that's a really good direct sequel to the first novel. Nothing like the Howling 2 movie. Don't know what was going on there. And like, this is off topic maybe, but like The Howling 3 is like kind of a spin-off of these first 2, and again, nothing like the movie. But I really think Gary Brandner, when he's writing about werewolves and he's writing about atmosphere, I don't know, he just brings something to it. Like I can feel the condensation building up on like a tree outside. I can see the fog. I can feel the cold. I can feel the isolation. He just writes that stuff so well. In terms of movie versus book, I think the book is better because it's so much more simplified. The Howling movie tries to sort of bolster out the story a little bit more. Obviously, we get the ending with like Karen showing the world that like werewolves are real and all of that, and it's filler kind of stuff. The book literally is, you know, spoilers obviously, but the book just ends with them escaping Drago and burning everything down, and the last thing like Karen hears as they're leaving is like the howling. "Some of them will get away," Karen said. Chris did not answer. She looked down at the fire as it ate through the wooden buildings, and she thought of the long-dead village of Dradja. Some of them always get away. A sudden deep chill made her shudder. Chris put an arm around her shoulder and drew her close to him. In a little while, the chill subsided. "Can we go away from here?" she said. "Far away?" "Yes," he said. He pulled the car back onto the road and drove on over the mountain. Just as they started down the other side, Karen heard it. She clapped her hands over her ears, but she could not shut it out. The howling. That's so creepy to me. Something about that is so eerie. I think the book does that a million times better than the movie, even though the movie has some really creepy moments. I also love that it's short and it's effective and it gets to the point. It builds the requisite amount of fear and dread and isolation, and then everything kind of blows up and all the werewolves come out, and it's kind of like an action spectacle at that point, and I think it's awesome for that. So yeah, check out The Howling. Or if that novel sounds interesting to you and you want like 3 books worth of entertainment, buy the trilogy, dude. They're real good. This next book, I think, is probably the hardest sell in terms of telling you that it's better than the movie, because I don't think it is. I know at the top of the video I said that I think all of these books are better than the movie, but like thinking about it, it's not. But in terms of horror, it is more horrifying and more creepy than the movie ever could be. That book, of course, is Jaws.
It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. From the best-selling novel, Jaws.
Jaws is a great movie. It's excellently directed. The characters in the movie are so much better than the book that it's not funny. All three of those characters in the book fucking suck. Brody in the book is like such a limp character until like sort of the end. Hooper is a massive fucking asshole, which is crazy because in the movie he was like my favorite. He's like the most endearing character in the movie. Quint is probably the closest in terms of book and movie, but I still think like movie Quint is better because that performance and the charisma that comes through like outshines the book a millionfold. He just seems like a dickhead in the book. But where the book is superior and where it truly exceeds the movie is the shark attacks. Obviously with the movie there was like a troubled production and they couldn't show the shark as much as they wanted to. And I think some of the deaths in that are horrifying. Quint's death in the movie is really horrifying. The dude that's in the middle of like the estuary where you see like the shark go under the water, super creepy. But the book and the book's descriptions of these deaths sits with me. I really feel it. I have carried those moments with me since reading the book because they're so eerie. In the book, we get a lot of like POV from the shark, and I love those moments because it's just talking about the fish and the power of the fish. And as the fish swims through the water and like the descriptive language that Peter Benchley gives the shark just sounds so cool. Like you can imagine it moving through the water. Obviously, the movie does really well for what it could do in 1975, but the shark looks like that. It doesn't look like a shark. And Peter Benchley then applies that kind of language and that kind of description to the attacks, especially with Hooper's towards the end of the book. And it's so eerie. Like, obviously in the movie he survives, so spoilers, I should have said that at the top. But like the attack is from Hooper's point of view, so like we're seeing it through his eyes and it's being described through what he's seeing. And it's like the shark bashing its way into the cage and then it grabs a hold of him, and the book talks about him feeling immense pain and then seeing the blood, and then it says like the last thing that Hooper ever saw was the black eyes of the great white, and then nothing. The fish rammed through the space between the bars, spreading them still farther with each thrust of its tail. Hooper flattened against the back of the cage, saw the mouth reaching, straining for him. The fish thrust again, and Hooper saw with the terror of doom that the mouth was going to reach him. The jaws closed around his torso. Hooper felt a terrible pressure as if his guts were compacted. He jabbed his fist into the black eye. The fish bit down, and the last thing Hooper saw before he died was the eye gazing at him through a cloud of his own blood. And it's like, oh my God, man, there's no other medium where I feel like you can present that death as horrifying as a book. To have the POV of the character be like, I'm experiencing this horrifying thing, and then just nothing. That's so terrifying. I think that's the most terrifying thing that you can maybe do in horror. At least for me, it's the most like existentially dreadful thing. The book has a couple of those moments and oh my God, they creep me the fuck out. So yeah, I don't actually think the Jaws book is better than the movie. I think it's better in a horror aspect, and that's why I include it in this video. But I also include it because I like it, even though it's got some really dated stuff in there, like even dated for the 70s. So, you know, go into the book expecting it to be a little bit, you know, dated. And finally on this list is one that I actually truly believe is better than the movie, despite the fact the movie is a cinematic icon. It is an all-time great. I love it. I truly love it. I think it's beautiful. I think it looks awesome. I think there's some good scary moments in there, but I don't think the movie can compete with Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton.
Yeah, that's nice.
Pirates don't eat the tourists.
You sure we're safe?
Yes. Unless they figured out how to open doors.
Jurassic Park.
Here's how I'll describe Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. You know the movie Jurassic Park? Imagine that, but it was a horror novel. Like, the book is creepy, man. Again, similar to like Jaws, the way it describes people being killed and like these moments of like pure horror, it's it's like actually fucking horrifying. Like, obviously now I know it's a writing technique to have like a character's POV and then it just to fade to black and it's just like, oh my god, they're dead. But like, the way Peter Benchley did it in Jaws is really good. The way Michael Crichton does it in both this book and The Lost World, so creepy. Everything with like the characters being trapped and the raptors on like the outside of the fence around like the main hub building, but there's this like fog that they can't see through and they know the raptors are out there. It's like such good like horror moments like that. And the movie has plenty of moments where like the velociraptors are really scary and the T-Rex is really cool, but something about the way Michael Crichton writes about dinosaurs makes you feel like they are like flesh-eating beasts, and if you come into contact with them, you are fucked. Like a prime example of this is when Nedry is killed in the movie, obviously the Dilophosaur, please tell me I've gotten that right. It like spits its black tar shit on his face, and then we cut to a wide shot and we see the Jeep swaying back and forth because he's being attacked. And it's like, oh, that's creepy, that's messed up. In the book, the Dilophosaurus, again, I hope that's correct, is like 3 times the size. And so the description is that it picks up Nedry by his head. And this is all from his POV. Picks him up by his head. He can feel his skull crushing. He can feel his stomach be slashed open. And it talks about how he reaches down and feels something and doesn't know what it is. And then he realizes it's his own guts. And then the last thing he feels is his head being crushed. And then he sees nothing. And like, the movie was never going to do something like that. It's kind of marketed, you know, for kids. It's an exploration, adventure kind of horror movie. But my god, dude, that description in the book, that has stuck with me on the same way that Hooper's death did. He couldn't see anything, and his terror was extreme. He stretched out his hands, waving them wildly in the air to ward off the attack he knew was coming. And then there was a new searing pain, like a fiery knife in his belly, and Nedry stumbled, reaching blindly down to touch the ragged edge of his shirt, and then a thick, slippery mass that was surprisingly warm. And with horror, he suddenly knew he was holding his own intestines in his hands. The dinosaur had torn him open. His guts had fallen out. Nedry fell to the ground and landed on something scaly and cold. It was the animal's foot, and then there was a new pain on both sides of his head. The pain grew worse, and as he was lifted to his feet, he knew the dinosaur had his head in its jaws. And the horror of that realization was followed by a final wish that it would all be ended soon. Stuff like that is what really sets the book apart from the movie. Those moments are so creepy, and I love that horror novels can do that kind of stuff. So these are just some books, and they're, you know, they are kind of mainstream. I mean, one of them was Jaws and one of them was Jurassic Park. I'm not really digging deep into like horror novels here, but I really like them. Anyway, that's enough yapping from me. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite horror novels are. And like I said earlier, let me know some comparisons between book and movies. I love hearing what's better, what's worse, and why. I don't know that I did a lot of that in this video. I said I was going to. I don't know that I did. But regardless, thank you for being here. I seriously appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.